So the first thing I wanted to do before we get started with this tutorial on using the topic modeling tool is for those of you who have not already done this, just a quick refresher on how to download and open the tool. So if you do a quick Google search for topic modeling tool, it should be one of the first results that comes up. You'll see it, topic modeling tool and Google Code. So once you get to this page, there will be a quick download link right here, so you can download the software. That is going to send it to your downloads folder. For those of you on a Mac, we can just quickly go over to the downloads folder right there. And then you can just drag this into your applications folder. So as you can see in my applications folder, I already have downloaded it, topic modeling tool, and it's a Java file. So when you double click that, it is going to go ahead and open up. And that is your user interface to that mallet tool that I talked about a little bit earlier. So now we have mallet running on the back end, and all we have to use is just the simplified point and click interface for it. So now we have the tool up and running, and we want to select a file that we're going to be using for our topic modeling. Now the file that we're going to be using is actually some responses to one of our survey items that we have for one of our MOOC ads. And the survey item asks participants to respond to what they feel is the most valuable aspect of that particular unit in the MOOC. Now this is not actually the ideal data that we'd want to be using for topic modeling. First off, because this data set only has about 500 responses in it. And another reason why this is not an ideal data set is because the responses are actually so short. So typically a general rule of thumb is that you'd want to have at least 1,000 documents that you'd be coding or that you'd be creating topic models for. So at least 1,000. In this case, we have what do we have here? About 500 different quote-unquote documents. Now, a document can be anything from an actual document, like a news article, for example, or a student's essay, or something like that, to something as small as comments in a discussion forum, or even as small as a tweet. But like I said, a general rule of thumb is that you'd want to have at least 1,000 of them. And also, I learned from the topic modeling workshop that I attended is that typically you'd want to have about at least 50 words for each quote-unquote document. So in this case, you can see most of our responses here are going to be less than 50 words. So this is not going to be the best, but we'll play around with it and see what we can get, see if we can extract any meaning from it. So as you can see, we have a lot of responses to here. Connecting with other people was a common response to most valuable aspect of the unit. Let's see, and this is actually aggregated across 2 different versions of this MOOC and over 6 different units for each of these MOOCs. So we have a lot of data from these 2 MOOCs and from these surveys. But you can see here some of these learning more about PLCs. Twitter is going to factor in here. A lot of people really like the Twitter activities that were happening in this particular MOOC, Twitter chat, Twitter feed. But like I said again, this is not the optimal number of, or at least the optimal minimal number of documents in the minimal word length. I had actually planned on using the discussion forums for this overview, but then I realized that within the discussion forums there are a lot of people who actually named others in the discussion forums. So in order to use that data, I would have had to remove every single person's name in there, and that would have been incredibly time consuming, and it would have taken me several days to just remove all the names. So we're going to have to deal with this, but we'll see if we can extract any useful information or any useful insight out of this data. So let's see, we've got the tool open here. There we go. So we've got our topic modeling tool. First thing we need to do is figure out where this document is from. Now I've actually created a topic modeling folder. And in that folder, I have the most valuable responses to the most valuable aspect of that MOOC. I also have this file here. I'm actually going to delete that because that's something we don't need for this. So there we go. I've got my file right there. It's a CSV file. Now, one of the really nice things about the topic modeling tool is there's a couple different ways you can import data. One is you can direct it to a single file. and it prefers a CSV file format, so comma separated values format. And what it's going to do is it's going to treat every single row in that file, so each of these rows, it's going to consider them to be distinct documents. Now another option that you can do when you're using the topic modeling tool is that you can point it to a directory. So for example, in this one-to-one evaluation, I could point it to interviews that we did. So in this case, I could specify it to point to this folder, and it would analyze it would treat all the individual documents in this folder as distinct documents, which is what they are. I would love to use this, but this also includes a lot of personal information, so I couldn't use those files either. So that's one of the nice things about the tool. You can either point it to a directory, and it's going to include all the documents in that folder, or you can point it to a single CSV file, and then it's going to consider all the unique rows in that file as individual documents. And these combined set of documents are what's often referred to as the corpus. So your entire body that you are looking for topics from. All right, one last thing quick to note, these files would not work for this because these are stored as rich text files, RTF. If you happen to be importing these from individual text files, you'd want them to be simple text files. So that would be TXT files. I actually have a copy of this, so those would be TXT files that we would be using. So TXT files or CSV files are what you're ideally looking for. All right, so let's select our input file. We're going to go to, what we need to do is find this file over here. I have this in, let's go to my desktop, and I have it in this topic modeling folder. So I'm going to choose this file, and then I also want to point it to an output. And what I want to do is select the same file for my output. So I'm going to send it back to desktop. All right, so I'm going to send it back to this topic modeling folder for my output. So after it does the analysis, it's going to send the analyzed information back to this folder. So I'm pulling from it and I'm sending it back to it. All right. So now we've selected what we want to the data that we're going to be creating topics for, and then we've just selected where we want this data after we've analyzed it to go back out to. So I'm going to start off with just a small number of topics at first. So let's just say 4 topics. So I wanted to classify all of these documents into just 4 main topics or themes. In here in the advanced settings, I'm just going to use the default settings for now. One of the things I learned from the topic workshop is this topic proportion threshold. Typically, if you have a lot of documents and the documents are much lengthier than these, you'd want to leave this at these default settings. But we are going to, I'll leave it at the default settings for now, and then we'll see what we get. All right, so number of topics, really simple. I've selected my data. I've told it where I want the data output to go, and I've told it the number of topics that I want it to try to create. So I'm going to tell it to learn these topics. All right, and done. So that was really quick, less than 2 seconds. So now let's go back to the folder where I told it to send it to. Not that one, not the applications folder, not that one. It's back in my topic modeling folder. There we go. All right. So now you can see this was the data that we pulled in. So these are all my responses to that survey question about the most valuable aspect. And then these are the output files that it created. Now what you are going to want to start with is these HTML files, which is actually really nice. So in here it's going to take the 4 topics that you created, and you're going to open that up. And it's going to take you, it'll open up to whatever your default browser is, and it's going to give you your 4 topics that you created. So within your 4 topics, these are the words that are associated with that topic. If you have a really good model, so if you selected the right number of topics, and if you have set the threshold correctly and everything else, these words should be combined. These words should make somewhat immediate sense. So I can see we've got discussion, PLN, TPAC, share. Share and discussion makes sense. Shared models sort of make sense. TPAC and models seems to go better together in my opinion. In the second topic, we have resources, social, people, activities. This last one, we have Twitter, coaching. So I can sort of see immediately, here we have SAMR. SAMR is another model, a technology model. So I would expect TPAC and SAMR to really go together. I would also expect models in TPAC and SAMR to go together. So this is telling me right away that I think we have some kind of broad topics that are being lumped together here in these particular documents. But let's see what we get. So we're going to click on one of these topics, and when we click on it, it's going to tell you the documents. So these rows over here, it's considering these documents. So these are the top ranked documents for this particular topic. And then here in parentheses, these are the number of words in this document associated with that topic. So let's click on one and see what it came up with. So this particular response, this document, is number 202. So we can see it over here. I really like the emphasis on the coach, blah, blah, blah. Actually, we can refer back to this file because sometimes these are actually truncated and you can't see the entire document. So the emphasis on coaching. So I can sort of tell right away that these topics right here that it's generating are just too broad and it's mixing together a lot of different topics. I happen to be a little bit more familiar with this data, so that helps a lot. Typically, when you are doing topic modeling, as suggested in that Megan Brett article, you typically do want to be somewhat familiar with the data that you're analyzing already ahead of time. So let's go back to our topic modeling tool. All right, so we realize 4 topics is probably not optimal for this particular data set. So let's go big this time. Let's try 20 topics and see what we get. Also, since these two you're probably not going to want to play with. This one is, feel free to adjust. The default is always 10 words that's going to be associated with the topic. There's usually more than 10 words that are associated with the topic. It's just going to truncate it to the top 10. In this case, we have many topics or many documents that don't even have 10 words in it, so that's a little problematic. And like I said, since we have shorter documents, we want to set the cutoff a little bit higher. So instead of 0.5, we'll set it at 0.2 and see what we get. One of the things I learned from the topic modeling workshop and also from some of the presentations I went to in this particular conference, natural language processing, text mining was a much more popular topic, and there were a number more presentations this year, from what I understood, than last year on topic modeling, natural language processing, and text mining. I'll be sharing more of that with you guys later. All right, so we're going to set it at 0.2. We'll leave it at 10 words per topic. And let's go back here. So let's try 20 topics now and see what we get. Let's see what the bag of words that we get are. So let's learn this. So now let's go back to our folder. What's nice about this is that it's going to overwrite the previous folders. So now we should have our new all topics document. So let's open that up. Here we go. All right, so now we have 20 topics. Let's see if we can make some sense of this. So we have article, video. One thing to note really quick is that this list of topics, the order is just, I don't think there's any specific significance to the order, so this wouldn't be the top topic per se. These are just 20 topics that it generated from the documents. So we have article, video, digital, reflect, frameworks. Frameworks I would expect to go with TPAC, and also I would expect that to go with the SAMR model. Coaches, videos, forums, interesting, connect. All right, that's not too, doesn't make a whole lot of sense there. Tools and Lino, I would expect those to go together. TPAC, again, I would expect that to go more with frameworks. PLN, coaches, school PLN, I would expect to go together. Let's see, resources, no. Twitter, chats. Here we go. So this one's starting to make a little bit more sense. Twitter, plan, they were expected to create action plans, so I'd expect those to go together. Beneficial, I would expect to see that. District. So I think we're doing a little bit better. Let's try a smaller number of topics this time. So let's try 8 topics and see what we get. So 8 topics. Let's go back to our output. We'll go back to HTML. All right. So here we go. Learning, coaches, SAMR. Let's see if there's a reason why SAMR and coaches keep appearing together. Let's look at some resources. That was a very short response. 222, most valuable aspect of the articles. How to be a digital coach. Okay. Let's see. Resources, very short. Resources just seems to be a kind of general response. Number of words associated with these documents. Let's try one with more words. SAMR, okay. TPACK, all right. This also shows one of the limitations of topic modeling. So for example, TPACK would actually have a C and a K for content and knowledge. So I think it's technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge. So technological knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and content knowledge. So when people are misspelling things, that's going to be a limitation too. Here we go, learning how Twitter can be used for specific tools, time chats, all right, Twitter again, 222, great. All right, so I feel like we're getting closer to having some topics together. Let's try 12 this time. Maybe we're setting the threshold too big. Let's go back to 0.1 this time. So we'll click OK, learn topics, and let's go back. All right, here we go. So PLN, teachers, feedback, it's getting a little bit better. Tools, resources, this Lino activity. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I think one of you all have used this for one of your knowledge products. Twitter, chat, social media, tips, okay, Power Framework, SAMR, TPACK, there we go. Forums, discussion boards, I would expect to go together. Oh boy, I feel like we're getting closer. Let me try one last time. But I think you're getting the general sense of how this works. So we have this corpus of documents. In this case, our documents happens to be individual documents, happen to be responses to a survey, an open-ended survey item. These could be actual student essays, they could be news articles, they could be blog posts, they could be a number of things. So those would be your individual documents, and your corpus is the whole collection of documents. And topic modeling is going to take, basically what it's going to do, it's going to create a set of vocabulary from all these documents combined, and it's going to look at the kind of relationships between how the words are used across these documents to look for some general themes. So let's try this one last time. Let's go for 10. And let's try 0.15 this time. And let's click OK. It's removing the stop words just by default. So for example, it's removing words like, let's see, I think just your basic words like the and it and your pronouns and things like that. So click OK. Topics, and let's see what we get here. All right. Here we go. Articles, questions, discussions, classroom, colleagues, SAMR TPACK, videos, hear from other facilitators. All right. Clearly, I'm not making the ideal model here, but again, I think you're sort of getting the gist of it. So that's kind of just a quick overview of the topic modeling tool. I'm going to provide this data set in the forums that you can play with and move along with this tutorial as well. But I also encourage you to look for some data sets available online. I think if we do a quick search, we might be able to find some. So topic modeling data set, and let's see what hits we get. Oh yeah, so this is a data set on GitHub. So this includes a number of things. We have AP articles, so Associated Press articles. This David Bly, which is cited from one of the references that I shared with you. Those are the Associated Press articles. A data set consisting of 845 New York Times articles. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's used from a data set taken from the topic modeling tool, which is right here. I wonder if we have this data set. Let me look for it. Quick start, acknowledgements, downloads. Oh, there we go. Sample data right there. So we have some, let's see, test data. There's data sets on, oh, there we go. So that's nice. So hopefully this was helpful. Just to kind of recap, so when we open up the topic modeling tool, it's basically just a Java file. You'll download it. It's going to go straight to your downloads folder. You can leave it in your downloads folder if you want to. I just happen to move it over to my applications folder. When you open that up, you're going to tell it what file that you want to get. This test data, I wonder what happens when I download that. Let me check really quick. All right. That is a very big file. Okay, anyways. So you're going to select your input file. You're going to tell it what file you want to use for your documents, for your corpus. Then you're going to tell it where you want it to go. When you've told it the number of topics to learn, it's going to send that back to whatever file you specify. It's going to create two folders, a CSV folder, which happens to have, let's open that up so you can kind of see. So these are all of the documents and the associated topics. So that's your document number, which happens to be the row in the spreadsheet file, and that's associated with topic 1. These are your topics in the documents. All right, oops. And your HTML file is going to be the one that you'll be using mostly. And then when you click all topics, that's going to take you to the number of topics that you generated in the words that are associated with that topic.